Come on in, let's have a convo. Hashtag relationship goals. We can talk about what we've been through. You can learn from me, I can learn from you. You can learn from me, I can learn from you.
I want to thank me. I want to thank me for believing in me. I want to thank me for doing all this hard work. I want to thank me for having no days off. I want to thank me for never quitting. I want to thank me for always being a giver and trying to give more than I receive. I want to thank me for trying to do more right than wrong. I want to thank me for just being me at all times. Snoop Dogg, you a bad motherfucker, girl.
Okay, and I second that for myself. Hello, welcome back to Kickin' It with Nes and Friends podcast. I'm your girl Nes, and listen, okay, that is how I'm feeling. That is the energy that I am channeling this morning. You guys, I'm super excited because I am now an RV owner. Whoop, whoop. Yes, that's me. So a lot of people did not know that I have been first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. So before I became a mom, I sucked at saving. I had some really good jobs where I was making good money for the age that I was. And I just blew it. I just blew through all of it. I was responsible as far as paying my bills and stuff on time. But I can't even tell you where that money went. It's not like I went on trips. It's not like I bought Gucci bags and shoes and, all kinds of stuff. I really can't even tell you guys where any of that money went when I was making that good money. But I will tell you that something about becoming a mom and just knowing that you're responsible for someone else's life, as well as their finances. And having an emergency stash, rainy day fund, all the things I wasn't thinking about or didn't care about when I was just out here in these streets, just single and living, my life, that I definitely feel kicked in when I became a mom. So I have been saving every penny. A lot of the jobs that I have had since becoming a mother have been jobs that, are mostly jobs where I get tipped in cash. So that really helped when it came to saving. I would just use my paycheck for stuff that was important. And then everything that I saved, I would put it away in a piggy bank. I had 3 piggy banks, one for him, one for emergency funds, and then one for vacations. But I ended up combining the emergency and vacation one, and separating the one that I have for my son. And I really went hard in 2019, super hard. I was working at a casino, so I definitely was making a lot of tips, and I was just saving everything. I was so proud of myself. I did not dig into any of that stuff. And by the end of 2019, I was just what do I want to do? I feel a lot of people around me were starting businesses or had businesses, and it was very inspiring. And I definitely wanted to, focus on what I was actually passionate about versus clocking into someone else's company. So I really sat down to try to figure out and focus on what mattered to me, what made me happy. And I had came up with, a mobile coffee shop idea, which is still in the works. I'm talking about it as if it's past tense. It's definitely still in the works. I just have more kinks, to figure out when it comes to that. But once I decided, okay, I have an idea and this is something that I want to do, I was the money that I've been saving, this is what it's going to go towards. So, like I said, that was the end of 2019, and everybody knows March, of 2020 is when the pandemic hit. And I definitely felt I definitely, took a left turn when it came to the goals and dreams that I had. just staying home, being with my baby boy, and just like focused on that. And just, the whole world was like thrown upside down due to the pandemic. So I was definitely in that. And I still had a focus, but it wasn't like a really hard drive. Like I didn't have a push. So that was something that was lingering. But when I was able to get a job again, ironically, I ended up working back at a coffee shop that I used to work at back in 2018, like in the beginning of like 2018. So I ended up working back at that company, and it really just solidified like, my love for coffee and just, all the ideas and thoughts that I had about my personal business and what I wanted to do. So then fast forward to, I believe, it was definitely September. Yep, it was September. I went to a retreat called She's Woke. Shout out to, Naomi Williams and her whole crew, the She's Woke organization. Shout out to them. It was amazing. It was a lot of like business women, coming together, sharing ideas, focusing on self-love, talking about how we can grow, just like a sisterhood. And it was really beautiful. And I was actually able to debut my, ideas and my love for coffee there. Like, I think it was like the second day that we were there. It was like a 2-day retreat. But I got to like debut, my company. And it felt really, really good. And it made me like, want to like go for this hard again. So like I said, that's still in the works, but I'm making the shortest story long. Sorry guys. You know how people are. Like I'm just talking in circles. The whole point was that I had all this money basically set aside to do this mobile coffee shop. And the more that I've like been home and been with my little one and just my head has been like, my ideas, my thoughts have been going, I started to like get excited about a mobile home. I started to get really excited about a mobile home. I also thought like, if anything, I can definitely make this mobile home into, my mobile coffee shop, because like those two ideas collide. Like I already had planned on buying a vehicle, of course, more of like a food truck type of vehicle for my mobile coffee shop. I had already kind of like set aside money and like a business plan to do that. And I kind of just twisted it just a little bit with other ideas I had about like traveling all across the states. And I was just like, you know what? Like I convinced myself, I talked to myself over and over about doing it. And talked to a couple of friends, not really family. I think I threw the idea out there, but I didn't really like talk about it as passionately as I really was about it to like the people like closest to me. Like I brought it up like, yeah, I think I'm, going to buy an RV when I decided to do that. And everybody that knows me knows that I'm like, I'm very indecisive. Okay. I blame that on, my sun sign, because I'm definitely a Libra. And I don't know where the indecisiveness comes from besides that, because I'm very indecisive but I'm also very impulsive. So those two things are just like those things together, crazy. But I did bring it up like, here and there with a couple of my close friends, and, everybody was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But I feel like, not that they didn't believe in me, they just know that I'm like, I have all these ideas, but sometimes I don't always actually go for them. They all sound great, and like I be having them thought out, and I'm just like, yeah, A, B, C, and D, because E, F, G. But I feel like with this particular like, dream of mine that I had, I feel like people were like, yeah, she's gonna do it, but like when? And so I did it, y'all. Like I did it. I bought an RV last weekend. It is a 1986 Chevrolet Mallard, and I love it. Like, it's just, like as soon as I stepped inside of it, I just felt like, yeah, like this is it. And I'm super excited about the idea of traveling, taking my little one with me and just like visiting places and sightseeing and eating great food in different states. And like travel has always been something that's very important to me. Like I feel like it was either I didn't have the time to do it, but I had the money, or I didn't have the money, but I had the time. And it's like those two things need to kind of be on the same, page when it comes to traveling. Like, you can't really travel without money. I mean, I'm sure there's ways, definitely, like there's like expert travelers, and I'm sure they have, all the tips and tricks of the trade when it comes to like traveling, on a budget. But mostly like the time, because like, if you're working a job, like especially like a 9 to 5, and you're just working like a standard job, it's kind of hard to get vacation time, or when you do, it's very limited. So like I said, I feel like when I had the time, I didn't have the money. Like a lot of people, had to stay home last year during the pandemic, like they weren't essential workers. So a lot of us had, a lot of time. But at that point as well, travel kind of wasn't an option to certain places. I know I did like a little bit of traveling last year. Like I went to see my cousin in Georgia, like maybe 2 or 3 times in 2020. And then I definitely went to Puerto Rico for my birthday in September in 2020. And then the retreat was also in New Hampshire. So it was like out of my state, but not too far. And I don't feel like any of those places were too far. But it's like, I had the time, but money was a little tight, especially like the fact that I was saving from my job. And then, a lot of people had to dig into their savings, during the pandemic, and it was really difficult for a lot of people. So traveling has always been something I've been very passionate about, and I love to do and would love to do more of. So just buying an RV felt right. It felt so right. And I'm just so happy because like you guys, like it took a lot for me to like not talk myself into doing this, but a lot of doubt came up, and I didn't even know that, that type of doubt existed in me. Like, and that's another thing, like, as far as talking to certain people about certain things. Like, I don't think, a lot of people's intentions are to try to project their fear onto you and to project their doubts onto you. But I will say that when I did finally tell certain people about my idea, it was a lot of, like, negative energy. And like I said, I don't think it was purposeful. I just think it was a lot of fear-based energy that was being like, put onto me. Like, oh, what are you going to do about this? And how are you going to go about that? And I actually did not let it, put a damper in my spirit as far as doing what I want to do and setting out to do what I said I'm going to do. Like I didn't, I listened to it. I want to take, I don't want to be in la la land about everything that could possibly happen. But at this point, I'm excited about this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm super excited, and maybe my excitement may be taking over everything else. And sometimes you do need like an outside person to tell you, like, I understand you're excited and I'm happy for you as well. But there are certain things that you may not have thought of or may need to think about while doing this journey. Versus being like, I don't think you should go and do that because da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, I feel like that's a different type of, direction that I probably will not be receptive to. Like, if you seem like you are, on the bandwagon, you're rooting for me and cheering, for my team and my ideas and, just me living my best life, just come at it a little bit better. Like, even if you have your personal doubts and fears, that's just a word of advice for the people that are in my life. But, yeah, because I feel like I'm definitely like, if you tell me like, don't go left, y'all, I'm gonna go left. I don't know why I'm like this. Yeah. But anyway, so I wanted to come on here and share with you guys my excitement for being an RV owner. It is, so cute. Like, it's like tiny living. My only like thing that I'm like going through right now is the fact that I have a lot of stuff. That's another thing. I feel like I didn't realize how much of a hoarder I was until I had this idea to downsize and live in a tiny home and travel. Like, I really started to look around my apartment and feel like claustrophobic. The mind is like so powerful, you guys. Like, the power of thought, it is a serious thing. Because like once I really got